They were priests, bishops, and popes of the 20th century, and their canonizations took place last weekend on Divine Mercy Sunday. The new saints, John the 23rd and John Paul II, were canonized by Pope Francis at the Vatican April 27th. The Pope saying the two were men of courage and mercy. The event was witnessed by more than 500,000 in St. Peter's Square and millions more via television, radio, and live streaming video. And it was also marked locally by Catholics at numerous events. We began our program today with 2 events last Sunday in our team coverage of the day by reel-to-reel reporters David Martin in Adams and Terry Hegarty at the Shrine of Divine Mercy in Stockbridge. We turn first now to David Martin with parishioners of St. John Paul II Church in Adams paying tribute to their patron saint on Divine Mercy Sunday. David?
Thanks, Sharon. It was a historic day marked by parishioners of the now St. John Paul II Parish in Adams as they celebrated 2 popes who were canonized as saints earlier in Rome. The celebration began with an 8 a.m. Mass at St. Stanislaus Kostka Mission Church. Father John Gowanowski, Administrator Pro Tem of St. John Paul II Parish, said they were celebrating a wonderful day as a few hours earlier, Pope Francis canonized their patron saint, and also St. John the 23rd. He described it as a very beautiful and festive event, with an estimated 750,000 people attending. Father John said many in the parish grew up during the time that St. John Paul II served as Pope.
Not only do we have somebody to pray and share our prayers with, we actually have a friend. Both men were very pastoral, very loving, and we have a wonderful friend now that we can actually feel like somebody we can talk to, who we know is with the Lord.
Father John moved around the church, blessing everyone with holy water. He said that this symbol of the renewal of their baptism was their sign that along with the great saints made on this day, that they too would have a place prepared for them in the kingdom of heaven. Parishioners said both St. John the 23rd and St. John Paul II are profoundly inspiring.
I'm glad to see that there's somebody from the 20th century, somebody that we knew and that is a saint. Because so many times we think of saints as being somewhere else, from another time period. And here they are, this man was someone who walked among us and who we knew of his holiness back then, and now it is, confirmed his holiness to all.
A social took place after the Mass in the church's Colby Hall. Jim Lohman, a member of the parish council, said all the parishioners were very excited that both popes were being canonized on the same day, which also happened to be Divine Mercy Sunday.
I think at different periods in the Church's history in responding to different conditions, both popes, both John the 23rd and John Paul II, revived the Church and made it more readily accessible to both the Catholic laity and non-Catholics of the world.
A second Mass took place at 10:15 a.m. in the St. John Paul II Church. In honor of the canonization, Father John led the recitation of the Litany of the Saints that would include St. John Paul II and St. John the 23rd. In his homily, Father John showed the congregation a fresco that was created by artist Michelangelo on the altar wall of the Sistine Chapel in Rome. The fresco's title is what the artist was depicting, the Last Judgment. Father John explained that in the painting, the dead are rising up to Jesus and a chorus of saints, and some are hanging on to the cross. He said that the image means there is no heaven or resurrection without the cross, and the way to salvation is directly through that cross. Father John said this was a wonderful reflection of the recent Holy Week celebration.
The cross and the resurrection, and that what comes next only comes to us through those mysteries and through our willingness to grab a hold of them and make them part of our lives. To say, yes, Lord, I believe.
Father John said the reason for showing the painting was that both popes who were canonized that day were wonderful pastors. He said the mission of St. John the 23rd and St. John Paul II was to change the world and each person in the world so that everyone could rise to heaven and be together at the banquet of the Lord.
Like Father said today, he's up there. I'm so glad. My husband must be up there. I have a son I lost 2 years ago. He's got to be up there and with everybody, you know. So, but I think this is great. This is really a great day, you know, for Polish people too.
Joan Palsy, a parishioner of Polish descent, said she admired St. John Paul II for his love of young people. Also because even as he became ill, he never complained and was a shining example to others of how to keep on going. And now to the largest event held annually in the Diocese of Springfield, the Divine Mercy Sunday at the Divine Mercy Shrine in Stockbridge, and my colleague, Terry Haggerty.
Thanks, Dave. It's always crowded on Divine Mercy Sunday here on Eden Hill, but this year it's especially so since people are celebrating the canonization of Pope John Paul II, who made Divine Mercy an official feast day of the Catholic Church.
Disembarking their buses and hiking up Eden Hill to the shrine was just the start of the day for the more than 20,000 pilgrims who crowded together on the grounds, joining in solidarity with the more than 500,000 participants in Rome for the canonization of both Pope John Paul II and Pope John XXIII. Worshippers from across Massachusetts, the Northeast, and as far away as Canada celebrated Mass, celebrated the Divine Mercy message, and celebrated the canonizations of both popes.
Today in our spiritual home in Rome, Pope Francis has canonized two extraordinary examples of the power of divine mercy being expressed through two amazingly good human lives.
Monsignor Lasante is an author and a regular contributor to Fox News. He told the throngs of umbrella-wielding pilgrims seated on the hill of the 350-acre shrine that each pope lived as a Catholic model for all.
Two amazing men of the Church, celebrated and canonized this day, both reflections of the divine mercy, Jesus of Nazareth.
In the 1930s, Maria Faustina Kowalska, a Polish nun, received a series of revelations from Jesus. Now known as Saint Faustina, she recounted the messages in her diary, messages urging people to receive the sacraments, especially communion and reconciliation. Saint Faustina was asked by Jesus to create the Divine Mercy image, an image of the risen Christ with rays emanating from his heart, which is how she saw him when he appeared to her. As a Polish bishop, Karol Wojtyła, before becoming Pope John Paul II, was St. Faustina's confessor.
The message of Divine Mercy is proclaimed here on Eden Hill day in and day out. But today it was trumpeted even more as tens of thousands of pilgrims, in solidarity with pilgrims in Rome, welcomed the Catholic Church's newest saints.
Danica Sequeira traveled nearly 8 hours to worship in Stockbridge.
I've experienced such a conversion coming here a few years ago when I came with the bus, and I just can't explain to you the joy and the love that I felt from God being here. It's indescribable, and if I could tell anybody who has not come here, you have to come at least once in your lifetime.
This was, in fact, the first time that Danica's husband and 1-year-old son made the 7.5-hour journey to Stockbridge from Georgetown, Ontario, Canada, to share the Divine Mercy experience.
The people are wonderful, the shrine is gorgeous, and it was just something that I felt compelled that God is calling me to come and promote.
The family belongs to Merciful Redeemer Parish in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Danica saw Pope John Paul II when he traveled to Toronto for World Youth Day in 2002.
And I heard him say the Mass, and again, it was the same kind of experience I had, just how beautiful his sermon was and just the promotion of God's mercy and love that he has for us.
Will Alvarez, a resident of Highland Mills, New York, says that coming to the shrine is very meaningful for him.
It's like you're stepping into a sacred sacred place. So being here in person, you could feel the difference. You could sense it, you feel it.
Will and his wife have been attending Divine Mercy Sunday events in Stockbridge for the last 7 years.
I'm strong-willed and I think I could do it on my own. But in the end, if I look back, I've had help. And that's for the mercy of God. That's the only one I could credit for that.
Following his homily, Monsignor Lasante blessed the crowd with a first-class relic of St. Pope John Paul II. At 3 p.m., the Divine Mercy Chaplet was held as attendees, some kneeling in the mud, expressed their devotion as they fervently participated. Divine Mercy Sunday is celebrated all over the world on the second Sunday of Easter each year.